नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तभवति नष्टके। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपाकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टां स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादां सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौतुसे नमः। वंशकल्पातरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपीश गोपिका कांत राधाकांत नमस्तते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौ भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So we welcome everyone for today's Bhagavat Life program. We are reading from third canto, the last chapter of third canto, chapter number 33, activities of Lord Kapila. So whatever questions were asked by Mother Devahuti to Lord Kapila, all of them have been answered comprehensively. The conclusions have been drawn. Not only that, even a Phalasruti has been given. In the last section, we read the last verse. We completed all right. I believe we completed the last chapter, right? So I'm reading the last verse, third chapter, third canto, 32 chapter, text number 43. Ya idam shrunyadamba shraddhaya purusha sakrat yo vabhidatte macchittaha sahiyeti padavam chame. Ya idam, whoever, shrunyad amba, whoever hears, Amba, O mother. So this is Kapil Dev saying to Mother Devahuti, oh my dear mother, whoever hears Shraddha with faith, Purushaha Sakrat. Sakrat means immediately. Yo vabhidatte macchittaha. His mind fixed on the instructions that I have given. Sahi eti padavim chame. Padavim, which refers to he attains to my abode. He comes back to my abode. Like this, a blessing. Anyone who once meditates upon me with faith and affection, who hears and chants about me, surely goes back home, back to Godhead. Like this, there is a Phalasruti. Like this, in Bhagavad Gita, there are various Phalasrutis given by Lord Shri Krishna. Can you think of any Phalasruti that Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita? Just like Janma Karma Chame Divya. Evam Yo Vetita. One who knows me in truth. Phalashruti means what is the result you will get. Shruti means after hearing. Phalashruti. So Janma Karma Chame Divyam Evam Yo Veti Tatvata Tyaktva Deham Punarjanma Naiti Mameti Swarjana. So one who hears about me, one who knows me about my Janma and Karma as transcendental will attain to my abode. And that's the subject matter. So Kapila Dev like that assures Mother Devahuti. So now question comes, chapter number 33. So Mother Devahuti have heard. She have heard with two qualities, faithfully as well as affection. For her to have affection was but genuine because Kapila Dev was her son. So she already had affection and faithfully she heard. Yes, she heard faithfully because with all sincerity she inquired from Kapil Dev and she patiently heard and with faith. So she heard faithfully. So now question comes, does she attains Padavim as Kapil Dev answers? So chapter 33 talks about destination of Mother Devahuti, and after Devahuti attained the destination, what happens to Kapil Dev? So there is a place called as Ganga Sagar in Bengal, which is said to be an eternal abode of Kapil Dev. So Kapil Muni resides there. Ganga Sagar has many interesting pastimes. Does anyone know what happened at Ganga Sagar once upon a time in the history? One king had come there, right? Who remembers the name of that? Ganga Sagar. Sorry. Yes, King Sagar. Who said? Yeah, King Sagar, he had come there, right? And that's the reason his great great grandson Bhagirathi had to get Mother Ganges because of things that happened. Those are details which I mentioned later on. I believe eighth canto probably talks about it. Anyway, so let's take a look at activities of Kapila here. So after getting her question answered, what did Mother Devahuti did would be the first subject matter. And after Mother Devahuti and Kapil Dev conversation ended, what Mother Devahuti did and what Kapil Dev did is described, and then rest of the life of Mother Devahuti is described. There's some very important, beautiful verses here. So, just few minutes before coming for the class, I was just thinking, just like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, what is the purpose of my descent? Yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata. So if you see, the subject matter or the context of dharma is to establish dharma. Or Bhagavad Gita is to establish dharma, right? Because Bhagavad Gita was spoken for that purpose, to reinstate Arjuna on the platform of dharma. So in that context, when Krishna says, my purpose of descent is to establish dharma, it makes sense. But you read Prabhupada says, Paritanaya sadhuna vinashaya cha dushkratam. Prabhupada clearly says, the purpose of Krishna's descent is not necessarily to establish dharma, that he could do it through anyone. He doesn't have to come. He comes to protect the devotees. The main subject matter is to protect the devotees. Now, when you go to Bhagavatam, then Bhagavatam speaks about the great devotees like Mother Devahuti, Mother Kunti. They also describe the purpose of Krishna's descent. Why does Krishna descend? And what is the dharma that Krishna wanted to establish? That is elaborated in Bhagavatam. Dharma is not varnashrama dharma. Well, that's not subject matter for today. But here, please do pay attention when Mother Devahuti will say the purpose of Kapil Dev's descent. That is a little different than what Bhagavad Gita says. And then we'll speak further about what is the purpose of descent of the Lord and how we can see the appearance of different acharyas, everything in that. That'll be very interesting. All right, text number 1. Maitrivacha. Evam nishamya kapilasya vacho janatri sakadamasya daita kila devahutihi visrastamoha patalatam abhipranamya tushtavatattva vishayankita shuddhi bhumen. So Maitri-muni, Vidurji Samad is going on. Maitri-muni says, thus Devahuti, the mother of Lord Kapila, and wife of Kadamuni, became freed from all ignorance concerning devotion service and transcendental knowledge. She offered her obeisances unto the Lord, the author of the basic principles of the Sankhya system of philosophy, which is the background of liberation, and she satisfied him with the following verses of prayer. So text number 2 onwards comes Mother Devahuti prayer. So what should she do after receiving answers to her queries from Lord Kapila? Kapila Dev's position being properly established, and after getting a question answered, now Mother Devahuti will offer prayers, some beautiful prayers. Devahuti vacha अथापि अजन्ताश्लिले शयानं भूतेन्द्रियाथात्मयं वपुस्ते गुणाप्रवाहं सदशेषबीजं दध्यो स्वयं यजतराजजातः. So she is expressing her what do you say, wonder. You are unborn. How come the unborn is born through my womb? You, who holds a whole universe in his belly, how he become captured within my belly? Like that. They will say, Brahma is said to be unborn because he takes birth from the lotus flower which grows from your abdomen while you lie in the ocean at the bottom of the universe. But even Brahma simply meditated upon you, whose body is the source of unlimited universes. So here, the very first point, she is talking about the vastness of Lord's body. First of all, you are unborn, and from that unborn, another unborn was created. Aja, that is Brahma, was born from the abdomen of Lord. And from where comes all the universes like that? Mother Devahuti says. Let's take a look at text number 3. Sa eva vishwasya bhavan vidatte guna pravahe vibhakta viryaha sargadhyaniho vita abhishanadhe atmaishvaro tarkaya sahasra shakti. Nahi aaya. So all of you would have access to verses. You please take out in your weather base. Our transcendental TV is not in the mood to give mercy today. That's all right. Text number 3. Sa eva vishwasya bhavan vidatte. My dear Lord, although personally you have nothing to do, you have distributed energies and the interactions of the material modes of nature. And for that reason, the creation maintenance, guna pravahena vibhakta viryaha, it all happens, takes place. My dear Lord, aniho abhita abhishandhe, my dear Lord, you are self-determined. Atmeshwaraho, and are the Supreme Personality of Godhead or the all living entities. For them, you created this material manifestation. And although you're one, your diverse energies can act multifariously. This is inconceivable to us. So here, Mother Devahuti, after having the complete understanding, the very first verse, Maitreya Muni says, her ignorance has been dispelled by the Lord. And now her ignorance has been dispelled. So this particular sections are very important through the devotees who have had darshan of the Lord. Through their mercy, we can have the darshan of the Lord. We can understand what absolute truth means. And she's saying that. Let's take a look at again text number 2, the flow here. Brahma is said to be unborn, and that Brahma is born from the navel of which is arising from your abdomen. And you lie. So Garbhodaksha Vishnu, she's speaking about. She got realization of Garbhodaksha Vishnu. And here she's saying, you are the cause of everything. You have nothing to do. And by your will, the creation, maintenance, and destruction occurs. For you created this material manifestation, although you're one, and you have diverse energies that can act multifariously. This is inconceivable to us. Just like when Lord gave darshan to Srila Vyasadeva by the blessing of Narad Muni, when he had the darshan before composing Srimad Bhagavatam, similar discussion comes over there also. Vyasadeva didn't had only had a darshan of the Lord, he had a darshan of the Lord along with his multifarious energies. He saw everything. And therefore, when Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Tad Vidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya Upadekshanti Te Jnanam Jnanina Tattvadarshana. These are the Tattvadarshi. These are Tattvadarshana Bhaktas. And therefore, at the beginning, not only in the beginning, Bhagavad Gita established Evam Parampara. You may not have had the darshan of the Lord through your eyes, but you can have the darshan of the Lord through the ears by hearing from a bona fide teacher. So just like Krishna and Arjuna Samvad happened 5,000 years ago, this is also a Samvad which happened around that same time, or this is, this conversation which has been quoted here about this incident of Kapila and Devahuti, that happened millions of years ago. But because it is coming in parampara, so question can be raised, my dear Lord, you appear once in a day of Brahma. What will happen to the deliverance of all of the living entities who are appearing in 1,000 yuga cycles? What will happen to them? So Krishna has created a system. So therefore, when Krishna talks about Evam Parampara Prabdham, is a very interesting verse. So that verse is establishing the universal education system created by the Lord. Now, this university is a prison. This world is a prison house, but this world is also a university. When Prabhupada says, at the time of death, you will be tested. Test means pass or fail. Pass means you go back home, back to God. Fail means you again continue your life. Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi. So this material world is also compared to a university. And the way of the way of education, the system of education has been established by the Lord. The subject matters have been given by the Lord. Tena Brahmadhyadi Kavya has been given by the Lord, the Vedic sciences. The system of education has been established by the Lord, Evam Parampara Praptam, and it depends on an individual. Antakale chamameva smaramukta kalevaram. If he does so, he passes. If he fails to do it, then what happens when you fail in university? You repeat. Right? You repeat that particular year. So Janma Mrityu Jaruvyadi, that all goes on. So that's the point here. So Tattva Darshini, so she is having that experience and she is sharing that. All these details we'll discuss in our Bhakti Vaibhav. I'm just giving you an overview. Text number 4. Swatambrito me jatare nanatha katham nu yasyodara etadasit vishvam yugante vatapatra ekaha shete smamaya shishu angripanaha. Angripana, she's talking about his childhood. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you have taken birth from my abdomen. Jatharena Natha. Jatharena means abdomen. Natha, O my Lord. Bhrato me means taken birth. O my Lord, Katham no Yashudara etadasit. My dear Lord, Yasya. Now, how is that possible for the Supreme One? Yasya Udara etadasid. And who has in his belly the whole cosmic manifestation? जिसके abdomen में खुद पूरा universe है, how can that person who holds universe in his abdomen appear in my abdomen? She is amazing. So she says the answer, Vishwam Yugante Vatapatra Ekaha Shete Sma Maya Shishur Angripanaha. The answer is that it is possible for the end of the millennium you lie down on a leaf of a banyan tree. And just like a small baby, you lick the toe of your lotus feet or lotus foot, like that. Which is she quoting? At the end of the creation, by the time of dissolution, you lie down on a banyan tree, licking your feet. Markandeya Rishi passed. So she's remembering that. Just like for Markandeya Rishi, you appeared, and that was the time of dissolution, and the waves of dissolution had engulfed the whole creation. And Markandeya Rishi was blessed to continue to live across all this dissolution. And then he came across a small island having a banyan tree. On that banyan tree, on one of the banyan leaf, he saw a small baby crying and licking his foot. So that's what Mother is saying. Well, if that is possible for you, then appearing in my womb is also possible for you. Text number 5. Tvam deha tantra prashamaya papamanam. No, sorry, that's good. Tvam deha tantra prashamaya papamanam nidesha bhajan cha vibho vibhutyaye yathavataras tava sukharadhyas tatha me api atma pathopabalyate upalabdhaye. My dear Lord, you have assumed this body in order to diminish the sinful activities of the fallen. So now, this verse describes the purpose of Lord appears. So why have you appeared through my abdomen, my dear Lord? The purpose of Krishna's descent, according to Mother Devahuti. My dear Lord, you have appeared this, assume this body in order to diminish the sinful activities of the fallen. So first reason she says, to diminish the sinful activities of the fallen. Second, to enrich their knowledge in devotion. Since these sinful people are dependent on your direction, by your own will, you assume incarnations as a boar and as other forms. Similarly, you have appeared in order to distribute transcendental knowledge to your dependents. So, my question to you, why does Lord appears? What Mother Devahuti is saying? Mother Kunti says the purpose of Krishna's descent भवयस्मिन् क्लिश्यमानानाम् अविद्या कामकर्मभिः श्रवणं स्मरणम् अर्हाणि करिष्यति इति केचन कुर्वन्ति इति केचन like that. So Mother Devahuti, Mother Kunti says Bhavayasmin Klishyamananam, this place of suffering and anxiety. Bhavayasmin, in this creation, you appear. Avidya kama karma bhi, and everyone is covered over by ignorance, avidya. As a result of avidya kama karma bhi, they're performing fruitive actions driven by kama beach, various sinful desires. You appear in this world where everyone is engaged in sinful desires, trying to fulfill their fruitive desires, driven by ignorance. Why have you appeared? You appear for one reason only. Shavanam smaranam arhani. Karishan iti kechana, to engage and to teach people three things: the process of remembrance, Shravanam, the process of hearing about the Lord, the process of remembrance of the Lord, and process of worship of the Lord. In other words, Lord have appeared to establish Bhakti Yoga. What is Bhakti Yoga? When Mother Kunti says Shravanam Smaran Arhani, what is Bhakti Yoga is described? Bhakti Yoga is described by Yamarajji in 6th canto, 3rd chapter, verse number 22. This is a series of verses. What is that? Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam name vidu rishayo napi devaha na siddha mukhya asura manushya kruscha vidyadhara, like that. So this series of verses comes, and after that, after describing that only Lord can establish dharma, dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam, nobody else can establish. This is, I believe, 19th verse, the 20th and 20th verse of this important chapter. Then Yamaraji says, Swayambhu Narada Shambhu Kumara Kapilo Manuhu Velado Janako Bhishmo Balir Vyas Kedvayam. And then it talks about Bhagavad Dharma. And then comes, what is Bhakti Yoga? Etavan eva. What is that? Etavan? Etavan eva asmin. Etavan eva lokasmin. Yeah. Etavaneva lokasmin pumsam dharma parasmataha bhakti yogo bhagavati tannama grhanadibhihi. Etavaneva lokasmin pumsam dharma parasmataha. And then bhakti yoga bhagavati tannama grhanadibhi. So bhakti yoga bhagavati. So what is that bhakti yoga bhagavati? Tannama Grhanadivi, to chant and to hear. That is called as dharma, that is called as bhakti yoga. So the purpose of Lord appearance is only one thing, is to establish bhakti yoga. And that's what Mother Devahuti is saying here, and that's what Mother Kunti said, Bhavesmin Klishyamananam, avidya kam karma bhi. Avidya kama karma you appear like that. Bhavasman Krishnamana, Bhava Avidya kama karma bhi. कहते हैं Shavanam Smaranam Arhani. You appear for this purpose. Shavanam Smaranam Arhani. So the question, why am I going a little bit in detail in this particular verse about the purpose of Lord's descent? So if you look at different self-realized souls speaking about the purpose of descent, not only even Yamaraji talking about what Bhakti Yoga means, as I was just quoting. So it's all about chanting and hearing and worshipping the Lord. So that is the purpose for which Lord appears to establish Bhakti Yoga. Now, how did Lord establish Bhakti Yoga? First of all, the philosophical understanding of Bhakti Yoga, that is Sambandha Gyan, has been established by Lord in Bhagavad Gita. But that is just a foundation. But hearing and chanting is not largely of Bhagavad Gita. The hearing and chanting has to be of Bhagavatam. What is that one scripture actually establishes and which helps in cultivating remembrance of the Lord is Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita is a philosophical treatise which sets the foundation, which sets the Sambandha Gyan. Who am I? I am Jiva. Who is the Lord? He is the Supreme Personality Godhead. Who is that? Krishna. Krishna and Anya Devatas, they are different. Krishna is, कहते हैं, Aham Sarvasya Prabhu Mata Sarvam. He is that one Supreme Personality of Godhead. What about the other Devatas? They all part and parcel, 7th chapter, 9th chapter, they all talk about it. All doubts and concerns about Krishna, about Jivatma, how this material world is governed about, this is Devi Eshu Gunamai Mamamaya Dharatya. So that's the divine energy of the Lord, which is called as modes of material nature, Prakriti, that establishes what is karma, what is kala, what is Ishvara Jiva. That all is the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita. That sets the foundation. But what hearing and chanting has to happen, that is the subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam. So purpose of the Lord's descent. And therefore, when we read Bhagavatam, then we'll come across that Bhagavatam talks about the various incarnations, so that we get the opportunity to hear, chant, and glorify different forms of the Lord. So for every practicing devotee, therefore, it is very important as soon as possible to take hold of Bhagavatam and start reading. We should not spend too long a time to think like that. Somehow the notion has come, no, you're not ready for Bhagavatam yet. Srila Prabhupada started ISKCON with Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada went to America with Bhagavatam. Prabhupada's first book distribution was Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita printing happened way later on, after a few years. Bhagavad Gita was not even there. So we should not wait for it, particularly for all of you, those who are already practicing devotees. Of course, there is a structure that we should read systematically from small book to big book. One of the reasons that I look at it, because I never went through with that small book to big book. I directly began with Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam in that way. The reason is I did read some of the small books, because all the small books are nothing but, most of the small books are the concepts of Bhagavad Gita, philosophical treatise, or the stories of Bhagavatam. Mother Kunti prayers, Dhruva Maharaj, Jamil pastime, Prahlad Maharaj, Kapila's instruction to Devahuti, and then you have, the concepts of Bhagavad Gita. So one thought that I had is the small books was encouraged because people at large do not have much taste for reading and also lack comprehension. So when you start with a small book, it's easy to digest and gives us the confidence that we can finish. But if you hold the first canto of Bhagavatam, it should not end up in body lifting because it works like a dumbbell. It's pretty heavy. So it can be really frightening to students to do it. But those of you who have at least pursued Bhakti Shastri, you're doing Bhakti Shastri, I would say don't wait. If you wait further, we'll regret later on that we wasted our life by not really getting into Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's the subject matter, and that's what Mother Devahuti also said. Let's go to text number 5. No, text number 5 is what we discussed. Text number 6. Now, while describing text number 5, the purpose of Lord's appearance, she says, you appear to diminish the sinful activities of the fallen and to enrich their knowledge in devotion and liberation. And I quoted Mother Kunti. Again, I'll repeat. Bhavyasmin Krishyamana Nam कहते हैं अविद्य काम कर्म भी श्रवणम स्मरणम arhani. So the purpose of Lord's appearance is to create a facility for hearing about the Lord, remembering the Lord, and worshipping the Lord. And now see what Mother Devahuti says in text number 6 and text number 7. If this is the same purpose or not. Text number 6. यन्नामधेय श्रवणानुकीर्तनात् यत् प्रवणात् यस्मरणादपि क्वचित् स्वादोऽपि सद्या सवनाय कल्पते पुनः पुनस्ते भगवन् दर्शनात्. 6 and the 7th, these are two very, very important verses. यन्नामधेय श्रवणानुकीर्तनात् यत् प्रवणात् यस्मरणादपि क्वचित् स्वादोऽपि सद्या सवनाय कल्पते कुतः पुनस्ते भगवन् दर्शनात्. Yan Namadheya. Let's read word to word, important verse. Yan, of whom, Namadheya, the name, Shravana, hearing, Anukirtana, chanting, Yat, whom, Pravanad, offering obeisances, Yat, whom, Smaranad, by remembering, Api Kavachit, even, Kavachit means Kala, at any time, Shwadho, a dog eater, Api, even, although, Sadhya, immediately, Savanaya, for performing Vedic sacrifices, Kalpate becomes eligible. So, what Mother Devahuti is saying, one who at once, not once, one who chants your glories, who remembers you, who engages in Kirtan, Shravanam, Smaranam, at once become qualified to perform Vedic sacrifices, even if he is from the background of dog eaters. These are Yavanas and Malechas. They don't have to go through any purificatory process. Just by remembering, hearing about you, at once they become qualified to perform Vedic sacrifices. Now she says, Kutaha punaste bhagavan darshanat. Kutash punaste. She expresses surprise. She says, Kutaha, what to speak of the Bhagavan, O Supreme Personality Godhead, darshanat, by seeing face to face. So interesting thing. Translation, to say nothing of the spiritual advancement of person who see the Supreme Person face to face. She says, those who can see Lord face to face, what to speak of them? What will they all can perform? Even a person born in a family dog eater immediately becomes eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices if he once utters the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or chants about him, hears about his pastime, offers his obeisances, or even remembers him. Once again, yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata. So how does Krishna establish the dharma? What is the idea of dharma? To diminish sinful activities and to create piety so people can engage in Vedic sacrifices. And what is the process? Yannamadeya Shavananu Kirtana. You getting the point? So the process of dharma, just like as our Kanam hai, Yamraji said, I was quoting 6th canto, Etavane Valokasmin, Pumsam Dharma, Parasmrataha, Karke, Bhakti Yoga Bhagavati Tannama Granadibhi. So the idea of dharma, therefore Bhagavatam says very categorically on, what is that? Dharma swanusta saha pumsam vishwakshena kathasvaya na utpadya yatiratim shamayevahi kevalam. You may perform your prescribed duties dutifully, but if that does not create rati, na utpadya yatiratim, if it does not create rati, for what? Vishwakshena kathasvaya, for hearing about the Lord. If that rati is not created, shama evahi kevalam. If you look at this whole chain of thoughts, bhakti or dharma is all about developing or creating a process for or giving an opportunity for. What is, let's put it this way, let's go step by step. What is dharma or how do you establish dharma? Creating an opportunity for everyone to hear the glories of the Lord. What is practice of dharma? Is to speak about the glories of the Lord. So therefore, Prabhupada in 14th chapter writes, one of the beautiful purpose. What is the purpose of ISKCON? Prabhupada says the purpose of ISKCON is to create an opportunity for everyone to hear the glories of the Lord, because once that happens, just like Narad Muni says, Tadvag visargo janataga viplavo yasmin pratishlokam so tadavag visargo janataga viplo yasmin pratishlokam avadhavati api. That vocabulary, that words, that creation, which glorifies the Lord. Tadavag visarga janataga viplavo upadaish can cause revolution in the lives of misdirected civilization. Tadavag visargo janataga viplavo yasmin pratishlokam avadhavati. What is our next line? Huh? नामानन्तस्य यशोङ्कितानि यशन्वन्ति गायन्ति शृण्वन्ति गायन्ति शुधन्ति गृह्णन्ति सा शृण्वन्ति गायन्ति गृह्णन्ति साधवा नमन्त what is that line? Namani anantasya yashonkitani yat. So yashonkitani yas. So that word which glorifies has the potency to destroy the sinful life. This is what it means. So once again, dharma is to create an opportunity for hearing. Practice of dharma means to regularly hear and glorify the Lord. This is what means by dharma, and this is what is the benediction of the process of hearing and remembering Lord. Mother Devahuti says immediately, at once, she uses the word Swadopi Sadhya Swanaya Kalpate. Swanaya means Vedic sacrifices. Sadhya, immediately he becomes qualified to perform Vedic sacrifice. This particular verse addresses many connotations. So that, like this, those who are Vaishnavas, those who are regularly practicing the process, hearing and chanting, they are the greatest Brahmanas. Because Brahmanas perform Vedic sacrifices, and Vaishnavas in that we are the greatest Brahmanas. All right, text number 6, text number 7. Now she expresses further surprise. Aho patashva pachatoh garyan yajvagrave vartate nam tubhyam tepo tapaste juho shashnurarya brahman churnam grananti yete. Ahobata, how glorious, Shwapachaha, a dog eater, Ataha, hence, Garyan. Even a dog eater becomes worshipable. Yavanas or Malechas, they become worshipable. Ye jivhagrare vartate namatubhyam. If their tongue begins to vibrate, your namaha. On the tip of the tongue, vartate nama. If on their tongue your holy name appears, they become worshipable. Tepo tapasya juhushashnurarya. Tepos tapasya. Now she makes another very interesting point. It has to be understood. Tepu tapa practice. So those who are able to aho batashva pachto gariyan, she's saying how glorious are those who are able to chant your name, even if Shwapachaha, they come from the family of dog eater. And because they're able to chant your holy name, it is an evidence. They must have practiced all austerities. Juva executed fire sacrifices. Shashnuhu snan, taken bath in the second rivers. Aryans must be born in the Aryan family. Brahmanachur must have studied the Vedas. Nama Granti. Therefore, they are able to chant your name. Translation. Oh, how glorious are they whose tongues are chanting your holy name, even if born in the families of dog eaters. Such persons are worshipable. Persons who chant the holy name of your Lordship must have executed all kind of austerities, fire sacrifices, achieved all the good manners of the Aryans to be chanting the holy name of your Lordship. They must have bathed at holy places of pilgrimage, studied the Vedas, and fulfilled everything required. So, what is the highest dharma? What is the highest dharma? Dharma is also at different levels. Highest dharma is yes, to chant and Shravanam Smaranama Arhani. Shravanam Smarana Arhani, which means to hear and to remember, to chant and to worship the Lord. This is the highest form of dharma. And now from this context, if you take a look back at Srila Prabhupada's system, what he gave a discipline to every devotee, he gave us access to the highest form of dharma. And look, this verse is a sakshi, is an evidence. As Mother Devahuti is saying, millions of years ago, even dog eaters becomes glorious because they chant your holy names and they're immediately purified. Whom did Srila Prabhupada preached? Who was his first audience, set of audience? In the West, these are the people who were, you can call, according to Vedic language, Yavanas and Malechas, engaged in all sinful activities. And they went on. Among all that, you know this famous story. What is that? Crazy Peter. That's a most amazing story. Most amazing. Why amazing story? Why I find it amazing? You know that story, Crazy Peter? I believe in Paris. He was living just outside the temple, somewhere in the bushes. Really crazy person, complete drug addict. But every day he will hear the chanting when the Sankirtan party will go. And when the day Prabhupada came and Prabhupada went for morning walk, suddenly he came out of the bushes. He had not taken baths for months and years together. And he somehow came out of the bushes and jumped at the feet of Prabhupada. And everyone was like frightened. Hey, ye ganda sa vyakti kahan se aa gaya? Even the Western devotees got the sense of Suchi. Hey, this is not Suchi, this is not me. Take it out, take it out. And I believe somehow he had got a book of Prabhupada, some small book of Prabhupada. I don't remember the exact details of it. And then he started coming to temple. Coming to temple means he was lying there. He lifted his body, dragged it, and brought it to the door of the temple and left it there. Now the body was lying at the door of the temple. Prabhupada, he somehow had got this Prabhupada, he will do it. And then the temple leader saw this, hey, this drunkard, you're lying in the passage. You're spoiling. The people will come, what they'll think of. And when the message went to Prabhupada, Prabhupada said no. Something like in that regard, Prabhupada gave him shelter. Like that, the story. Indradumna Maharaj talks about the story. And he's the same person who went on to become Karandhara Prabhu. What is that? Yeah. So this person, he went on to become a Sanskrit scholar. Now this is most amazing. I mean, ठीक है यार, चलो अपना एक ब्राह्मण था, गलत संग में पड़ गया. From the childhood he read Sanskrit, but in college life he got into bad association. He became a drunkard or womanizer and whatnot. Then he got devotees association. He became okay, and then he, because he had the samskara, he had the learning, he could go and give commentary on Sanskrit text. That too complicated texts written by Srila Jiva Goswami. Here, who had no ABCD of Sanskrit. Kushakripur. He had no ABCD of Sanskrit. He was utterly crazy when he had come at the doorstep of ISKCON temple. Look at the transformation. A foreigner learned Sanskrit. You and I can't learn Sanskrit even now. अपना टूटा फूटा संस्कृत इतने सालों के पढ़ने के बाद. He learned Sanskrit, he mastered Sanskrit, and now he wrote commentaries. Aho batasva pachato gariyan. This is a wonder. How glorious. So the purpose of Lord's descent is to establish dharma, and that dharma is established by the process of hearing and chanting. We as a devotee has to have a very strong faith in this. If our faith is slackened or loose, our own practice will be affected by it. Whenever there would be time, we'll not take shelter of hearing and chanting, we'll take shelter of anything and everything. When we ourselves cannot take shelter of hearing and chanting, what we can inspire others to take shelter of hearing and chanting. Although we are practicing dharma, but our faith in dharma has not been cultivated. And if you take a look, of course, we are Vaidhi Sadhana Bhaktas. So according to rules and regulation, we are doing it. We have a morning program, we do it. But unless we take shelter of Bhagavatam, that faith in hearing chanting will not develop. Because Bhagavad Gita is not about that. Bhagavad Gita is a philosophical treatise. It's largely about Sambandha Gyan. Yes, there is Sambandha Gyan, there is Abhidya, there is Prayojana. Man mana bhavamad bhakta madhyaji mahanamaskuru. There is Abhidya, there is Prayojana also. But Bhagavatam categorically, of course, Sambandha, Abhidya, Prayojana is all there, but that goes in details of it. through various stories of various times. We should not delay in taking shelter and reading it. If not, first canto is largely about the various devotees, many wonderful stories. So we should. So that's the conclusion here of the subject matter. He says, "Oh, how glorious, Shwapachot Gariya," like that. All right, let's move forward. So these are the two very important verses. Again, we'll discuss more in details later on, but let's continue. Translation, text number 8. I believe, my Lord, that your Lord Vishnu himself, under the name of Kapila, you are the Supreme Personality Godhead, Supreme Brahman, the saints and sages, being freed from all the disturbances of the senses of mind, meditate upon you, for by your mercy alone only can one become free from the clutches of the three modes of material nature. At the time of dissolution, all the Vedas are sustained in you only. So, I mean, again, I want to go back. Please get this point. What is dharma? Hearing and chanting. Take part, just to give you an idea. We recently started this Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Why I had to waste my energy? It was so much time for me to create that whole platform, to organize this, post a message, create an online system. Why we have to create this Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya or Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya platform? As a leader, we have a responsibility to create facilities for our community to engage in hearing and chanting. Now, I understand and do acknowledge, as large part of Indian community, we struggle with hearing or reading by ourselves. Not hearing, reading ourselves. You all have been hearing regularly, but there has to be a component of reading also added now. Otherwise, when would we proper wrote book for us to read also, na? Of course, hearing is important, fundamental. But now, those of you who have been hearing for all this while, your perceptions have changed. You're not like a 6 months boy or 1 year old into the bhakti. 1 year old also have got know many things if he has been regularly hearing. So now we should read it. And therefore, we tried creating those groups. We created a system some time ago. I believe it has got discontinued, where every evening all of you would assemble here and reading. Who was taking care of it? Vishwakarma Prabhu. I don't know who was taking care. So I don't know. At my end, I try to inspire and create a system. It's something that all of you have to take it forward. I don't know why it got discontinued. If it got discontinued from maybe Brahmachari, maybe he was caught in the service book distributor, then one of you who have time take a lead. And what has to be done? Announce every evening. Hare Krishna is a book reading time. Everyone come. How many of you were joining those book reading time those days when it was going on? Can you raise your hand? How many of you felt it was very helpful? It created a momentum. And how many of you agree? And why we created that momentum was because we all had a discussion. We agreed upon after 8 o'clock, we only waste time. How many of you agree after 8 o'clock, we only waste time? Because we are in a retiring situation, we don't feel so enthusiastic. And enthusiasm for bhakti would be the last thing at our stage right now. So for everything, we have time, but for bhakti. At that time, if we can bring in a group activity of coming together and reading, that time which otherwise would have been wasted can be so much fructified and utilized properly. So we all have to take responsibility. Systems are created, but the nature of Kali Yuga is system gets created, system gets destroyed, needs to be created, because this is what material world does. Creation, maintenance, destruction. To think that once creation has happened, it will continue. That is not going to happen. Somewhere has to maintain. And regardless of maintenance, it has its time frame. डिस्ट्रक्शन हो ही जाता है. डिस्ट्रक्शन हो जाता है, फिर क्रिएशन शुरू करो, फिर याद दिलाओ कि भैया आओ शाम को 8:30 बजे बुक रीडिंग के लिए. ओके, टेक्स्ट नंबर 9. मैत्रेवाचा एदितो भगवान एवं कपिलाख्या परपमान वाचा विक्लव एति आहा मात्रम मात्रवत्सलः. So Lord Kapila, being satisfied with the words of mother, replied with gravity to his mother. Kapila vacha magenanena mataste shushpeno ditena me astena parankashtham achira avarotshyasi. Personality Goddess said, my dear mother, the path of self-realization which I've already instructed to you is very easy. You can execute this system without difficulty, and by following it, you shall very soon be liberated even within your present body. My dear mother, those were actually transcendentalists Certainly follow my instructions as I have given them to you. You may rest assured that if you traverse this path of self-realization perfectly, surely you shall be freed from fearful material contamination and shall ultimately reach me. Mother, persons who are not conversant with this method of devotion service certainly cannot get out of the cycle of birth and death. Kapila Dev is giving guarantee. Maitrivacha, text number 12. Iti pradasya bhagavan satim tamatmano gatim swamatra brahma vadinya kapilo anuvato yayo. Maitreya said, Supreme Personality Godhead Kapila, after instructing his beloved mother, took permission from her and left his home, his mission having been fulfilled. Where did Kapila Dev went? He went to Ganga Saga. Text number 13. As instructed by her son, Devoti also began to practice Bhakti Yoga in that very ashrama. She practiced Samadhi in the house of Kadama Muni, which was so beautifully decorated with flowers that it was considered the flower crown of the river Saraswati. So, why this beauty has been described, particularly when it is spoken about Stri, a woman, it's but very natural for them to get attached to household thing and particularly to the house. Why this has been categorically mentioned here to see that how she was living in a perfect place. It was called as a flower crown of the river Saraswati, which means the perfect surrounding and the setup was there. And nonetheless, by her practice of Bhakti Yoga, she became detached from all this thing external. Text number 14. She began to bathe 3 times daily, thus her curling black hair gradually became grey. Due to austerity, her body gradually became thin and she wore old garments. And in Krishna consciousness, our austerity makes us gain weight. Because one of the austerities is only Krishna Prasad. Right? How many of you agree? How many of you have noticed your photo before coming to Krishna consciousness and after coming to Krishna consciousness? Because what are the austerities in Krishna consciousness? Chanting, reading, devotee sangha, and biggest austerity is prasad. Only Krishna prasad. And because of that austerity, her austerity made her grow thin. And our austerity made us grow fatter, overweight.
Consciousness 48, after Krishna consciousness 84.
Okay, before Krishna consciousness 48, after Krishna consciousness 84. A sign of progress. How many of you agree with those who are online? All right. They can raise their hand. Why can't I see people here? Fine. Where was I? Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I got distracted. So where were we? Text number 14. Text number 15. And we devotees take pride in it. And we say, because we are so happy, therefore we are gaining weight. They will not agree, you're overeating. And you will say, Prabhu, because earlier we were miserable. So we had very poor appetite. So we couldn't eat much. Now, because and after coming to Krishna consciousness, we have become blissful. We have become anxiety free. So we can eat peacefully. Therefore, we gain weight. So gaining weight is a good sign of advancement. Don't criticize our overweight. Text number 15. The home and household paraphernalia of Kadamba, who was one of the Prajapatis, was developed in such a way by dint of his mystic powers, austerities, and yoga that his opulence was sometimes envied by those who travel in outer space in airplanes. So don't think Jet and Spice airline came now. In Kapila Dev time had. But interestingly, there is no name is given which jet airways or which airline. Why? Can you think why? Why no airline name is given? Now, when you travel, what do you say? I went by Indigo. And when you travel international, you went by American Airlines or Lufthansa, isn't it? Now, so many times this discussion comes. The planes, airplanes. Why no airline company name is ever given?
Everybody has their individual
They
planes.
all had their own private place. Yeah, that is true. Now, for example, when you travel a private car, you don't speak much about it, but when you travel by public transport, then only you say, isn't it? So everyone had their own private jet. So don't be proud if you have a car today. We are degrading. So there is never mention about which airline they rented out to travel. Text number 16. Okay, by the way, this is my speculation, huh? This is just a mere speculation. We're just having some fun here. Text number 16. The opulence of the household of Kadamuni is described herein. The bed sheets and the mattresses were all as white as a foam of milk. The chairs and benches were made of ivory and were covered by cloths of lace with golden filigree. And the couches were made of gold and had very soft pillows. हरे कृष्णा. आप लोग सुन के खुश रहो. इस जन्म में तो मिलने जरा. Cost of apartments is becoming expensive. Text number 17. The walls of the house were made of first class marble, decorated with valuable jewels. These are the jewels here today. There was no need of light, for the household was illuminated by the rays of these jewels. The female members of the household were all amply decorated with jewelry. The compound of the main household was surrounded by beautiful gardens with sweet, fragrant flowers and many trees which produced fresh fruit and were tall and beautiful. The attraction of such gardens was that singing birds would sit on the trees and their chanting voices as well as humming sound of the bees made the whole atmosphere as pleasing as possible. Can you think of why this kind of, or what does this description can imply? What could it mean? Mahabharata describes elaborately the Sabha Parva, second volume, about Yudhishthira Maharaja's palace at Indraprastha. And then Dwarka, Krishna's palace is elaborately described. It's described in Bhagavatam also. What does it mean here talking about? I mean, from our perspective, if I take a look at it, the actual joy, if you see, everything is natural here. There's no artificial here, And if you ever see a description of a household, you'll see it will always say fragrant flowers, having a garden, and the tall trees, and the fragrant fresh air and breeze like this. There's just a side point I'm saying, how far we have actually gone from basic comforts of life. How far we have gone away from the basic comfort. This is a basic comfort. What you need to do, the nature has already provided, na? How much you have to really work to get flowers in the trees. Everything is provided. But we have gone far away from basic facilities. So in today's time, cultivating detachment should be easy then, isn't it? But still, so difficult. People are so attached to their chidiyaghar. Do you agree an apartment is chidiyaghar or not? Have you ever seen a ghosla on a tree? And from the ghosla, the kids will put their heads out time and again. And we have a balcony where once in a while, some kids, the family member come out and put their head out again, see what happened, and then they run again. Yes or no? Look at how many balconies there are. How many people are visible right now? You will see most of the time only Hare Krishnas are standing on the balcony because they're fed up from the 3 walls or 4 walls. They'll be standing out there. You don't hardly see them. So it's just like ghosla. I mean, how far we have become from the basic comforts of life was. Anyways, text number 19. I know the point I was making was even we don't have basic facilities, yet we are so attached. Imagine if you would have got a palace and place like this. हम तो बोलते जीवन का perfection मिल चुका है, कोई जरूरत नहीं है भगवान धाम जाने की. How many people agree? You have such a perfect place. You have river Saraswati flowing nearby. And what a beautiful description. How many of us would have even thought of taking to bhakti? So in Kali Yuga is a perfect time to take to bhakti because life is becoming miserable day by day. So we can easily become detached. Text number 19. When Devahuti would enter that lovely garden to take a bath in the pond filled with lotus flowers, compare with the water that you get. I don't know, is this fresh water or the toilet water recycled?
Many times it's dirty and many times it's smelly.
How many times have you seen the water that you get here is all muddy and dirty? Right? Okay. So when Devahuti would enter that lovely garden, take a bath in the pond filled with lotus flowers, the associates, the denizens of heaven, the Gandharvas would sing about Kadama's glorious house of life, a great husband Kadama, give her all protection at all times. Text number 20. So why I'm making this side point is when you read this, develop attraction for these. Unless you have attraction for these, you cannot give attraction to your water which is coming in your bathroom. You remain attached to that. All their position was unique from all points of view. Saintly Devahuti, in spite of all her possession, which were envied even by the ladies of heavenly planet, gave her all such comfort. She was only sorry that her great son was separated from her, which means Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayati Asvairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahitukam. Even while you have the perfect situation and place, a devotee even can become detached from it, knowing that ultimately it is temporary. It may look so blissful and so wonderful, but it has a lifespan. And that is the outcome of Bhakti Yoga. Devotee didn't have to practice detachment. What did she practice? Bhakti Yoga. So the point here again is if we are practicing Bhakti Yoga, now Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita. So what Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita? What Bhakti Yoga? Bhakti Yoga Prayojita will give you Prema Bhakti. But before that Prema Bhakti, you will develop Janati Asuvagam Jnanam Chayadhaitam. Unless this happens, Prema Bhakti cannot happen, which means Vairagya and knowledge has to develop at the stage of Sadhana Bhakti, which means at our level of Bhakti that we are practicing, that should lead to Vairagya and knowledge. And they have to see, we have to measure how attached and detached we are becoming from our things. And therefore, again, I'm saying there's no alternative than taking shelter of Bhagavatam. What is that highest dharma? That highest dharma has appeared in the form of Bhagavatam. Krishna Sudhama Upagate Dharma Jnanadibhi Saha कहते हैं कलो नष्ट दशामेश पुराणार्क उदनोदिता. What Dharma took shelter of what in the absence of Krishna? That was the last question asked by Sutta Goswami, Sharanakadi Rishi. And to that, Sutta Goswami said, Krishna Sudama Upagate Dharma Jnanadibhi Saha Kalo Nashta Dashameshaha Puranarko Udanoditaha. At that time, Bhagavatam arose, dispelling the ignorance, just like the sun rises. All right. Text number 20. Although her position was unique, text number 21. Devati's husband had already left home, accepted to renounce her life, and then her only son, Kapila, left home. Although she knew all the truths of life and death, and although her heart was cleansed of all dirt, she was very aggrieved at the loss of her son, just as a cow is affected when a calf dies. Question can be raised after receiving all the transcendental knowledge, how Mother Devati can feel sorry for her son? That is material attachment. So there's a little more deeper subject matter than it looks like. Just like Arjuna was grief-stricken after hearing Bhagavad Gita, not after hearing Bhagavad Gita became grief-stricken. What I mean to say is, he was grief-stricken at the loss of his son Abhimanyu. And that loss had occurred after he heard Bhagavad Gita, which means he was already situated in transcendental knowledge. Mother Devahuti is situated in transcendental knowledge. Then how come they can have grief towards their son? How do you explain that? How Arjuna can be grief-stricken? How Mother Devahuti can feel grief-stricken? So there is something called as transcendental emotion. There is something called as mundane emotions. Now, on the path that we are not on the path of destroying our identity or destroying our emotions. Naiti, naiti, naiti. We are on the path of transforming emotions from mundane emotions to transcendental emotions. So emotions are transformed, not annihilated. It is not that devotee will not feel sorry, will not be grief-stricken when he sees people suffering in the world. That grief is out of his compassion. In case of Arjuna, that grief was natural because on the spiritual platform, he had that affection for his son Abhimanyu. Now, Abhimanyu was not an ordinary, he was personally trained by Lord Shri Krishna. In other words, he was also a great devotee of the Lord. So, Arjuna having grief at the loss of another great devotee is but natural. Abhimanyu is not only his son, but also, so we have to see from the perspective of devotee like that. Similarly, In case of Mother Devahuti, she was grief-stricken at the loss with the absence of Kapila Dev. Yes, Kapila Dev was a son. So as a mother, she had that. And simultaneously, who would not be grief-stricken? How much Yashoda and Nanda Baba was grief-stricken in the absence of Krishna from Vrindavan. It is but natural when Lord is not there. This is feelings of separation. So, I mean, in other words, this subject matter only devotees can understand, because those who are jnanis, they say, no, we have to come shanti, shanti, shanti. There should not be any disturbance to our consciousness. So they try to run away from this transcendental emotion. Text number 22. O Vidura, thus always meditating upon her son, the Supreme Personality God Kapila Dev, she very soon became unattached to her nicely decorated home. Thereafter, having heard with great eagerness in all details from son Kapila Dev, the eternally smiling Personality God, Devati began to meditate constantly upon the Vishnu form of the Lord. The feeling of separation actually enhances remembrance. That's the point. She did so with serious engagement in devotional service. Because she was so strong in renunciation, she accepted only the necessities of the body. She became situated in knowledge and realization of the absolute truth. Her heart became purified. She became fully absorbed in meditation upon the Supreme Personality Godhead. And all misgivings due to the modes of material nature disappeared. So, how she became liberated? Because of a serious engagement in devotional service. I mean, very important verse. We'll take a look later on. Her mind became completely engaged in Supreme Lord, and she automatically realized the knowledge of the impersonal Brahman. As the Brahman realized soul, she was freed from the designations. Thus, all material pangs disappeared, and she attained transcendental bliss. Situated in eternal trance and freed from illusion, impelled by the modes of material nature, she forgot her material body, just as one forgets his different bodies in a dream. How many verses are there? I just said so. A few verses. Let me just add one point so you understand what is the subject matter here. Being situated in eternal trance, she forgot her material body, just as one forgets his different bodies in a dream. What is this eternal trance means? And how did she attain that situation? Can we have this opportunity in this lifetime to attain the situation? What do you think? Can we come to this situation as Mother Devahuti, being situated in eternal trance? Yes? How? And what would be the situation of trance would be? How do you describe what would be the situation of trance would be? What would be the situation of trance for us? So Mother Devahuti was situated in, she became situated in eternal trance, which means she was always in samadhi. My question is, so do we have that opportunity? Can we come? Because unless you see that opportunity, you'll not feel like reading it. You'll think this is some fictitious. That happened to her. Cannot happen to us. My question is, can it happen to us? Yes. Prabhupada gave us a process that can bring us to this platform. So my question is, what would that trance look like to you? What would it mean? And then we'll talk about how. Yes. So we have an example. We saw Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. So what did he saw in Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj?
In the night, although he was sleeping, but still he was worshipping.
Okay. You're saying in the night. So in the daytime, what was he doing then? He was not in trance in the day.
He was fully engaged in Krishna's service.
What is that state of trance? I'm asking. So how do you define what is the state of trance?
He was happy, always.
He was happy always. What is the state of trance?
Always engaged in devotional service.
Always engaged in devotional service. Who is stopping you from being always engaged in devotional service? What is the situation of trance means?
You feel this middle wala like that.
Feeling willing to hoga. But how, what does it mean? What does the trance means? नहीं, ये लोग का आंसर सही डायरेक्शन में जा रहा है. आपको क्वेश्चन समझ नहीं आ रहा तो आपको ट्रांस का शब्द का मतलब नहीं पता, क्या समझाओ उसमें. सिंपल सी चीज है. टेक्स्ट नंबर 27. मदर देवहूति, by the practice of bhakti yoga, she attained the state of trance and she became immaterial to her material body. That's the point. My question to you is, can we have this or not? If you think we cannot have it, then what is the point of reading all this thing? Then we're talking something which has no meaning for us in our life, na? If she can have it, can I have it? If I can have it, then it makes our story more interesting, more appealing. Then my question again. Anyone online want to give a try? What does it mean? We can't hear them, Pratik Prabhu. Looks like the speakers have been muted.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, we can attain it by Sankirtan.
Okay, all right. Well,
Hare
fine,
Krishna,
that's
Prabhuji.
okay.
Can I add?
Yes.
It is actually we have a one-to-one time with the Lord when we are doing our chanting. So that's the time when we can forget everything and connect with the Lord. And
Always in trance, becoming immaterial to the material body. So, example was given of Gopal Krishna Maharaj, his own as Jayapataka, many other examples can be given. So, what it means, kind of missing the basic point. So, that opportunity. So, if you think by sadhana will come to that situation, Mother Induratika, let me ask you this. When do you think that situation arises with you when you are sitting and chanting and you're having one-to-one conversation with Krishna and you've forgotten the world? How many years do you think after that will be possible?
no, it's only
Days,
possible
months,
at
or
that
years?
time.
Huh?
It's only possible at that time, Prabhuji.
Are, what is that time? How do you reach that time is the question. Don't say theory. I know. It sounds very nice advertisement. Bhakti Yoga will give you one-to-one time every morning 2 hours with Krishna. So how does it happen? What is that thing which Prabhupada has given us that can give us that?
Service opportunity.
We have to.
Service opportunity. What is that? What is that? There's
The-
only one thing.
Master's mercy.
There is only one thing. Preaching. It is preaching which will bring you in trance. You think about it. His honest Gopal Krishna Goswami, what was he doing? Was he preaching 24/7? His on Jayapada Goswami Maharaj, what is he doing? Preaching 24/7? So for this age, therefore, if you look back, why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu emphasized on preaching? The way to get to that situation is only through preaching. And that preaching has been established by Lord Shri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. One who preaches is most dear to me. And then same Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Tesham Satataktana Bhajatam Priti, who is always engaged in what? Preaching seva, as he says in the 18th chapter, it becomes very dear to me. Bhajatam Priti, Bhajatam Priti, what is that? Tesham Satataktana Bhajatam Priti, Yukta, sorry, Uprakam, Dalami Buddhi Yogantam, Yenamam, and I give him intelligence. So our means of attaining this stage is preaching. How many of you agree Prabhupada strongly emphasized on preaching? Yes or no? Yes or no? Why did he emphasize? Why did he emphasize on book distribution? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Yare dekhe tare kaha. You know, wherever, anywhere, speak about Krishna. So that means is not through your chanting. That is the goal that you may come to once you are in trance. But the process to attain that is preaching. So our austerity, Mother Devahuti had her austerity for us. Is it making sense? Is it getting into sinking your head? If you want to really go to that stage quickly, you got to put yourself into preaching mission. You got to take responsibility. You got to start programs. You got to do those things. And then only automatically your mind will be in trance. Because you'll always be thinking about how to do it more, how to do it more. There's no way else. Very difficult. Text number 28. Her body was being taken care by the spiritual, and as she became immaterial to the bodily demands. Do you have any example of a what do you call as we call the two types of devotees? What is that? What is the term? Two types of Vaishnavas, devotees, one who preaches and one who does sadhana. Goshtanandi and Bhajanandi. How many examples do you have from our times of Bhajanandi having attained the state of trance and becoming immaterial to their bodily demands? How many examples do you have of Goshtanandi? Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, Jayapataka Goswami Maharaj, Lokanath Swami Maharaj, Radha Maharaj, many. And not only Maharaj, you'll find, Maharaj writes about so many devotees in Russia going around the year for book distribution. It's negative 20-degree temperature, but devotees standing out on the street day after day doing book distribution. Have they become immaterial to their body? Now, this is about Goshen. How many examples do you have of Bhajanandi who have become immaterial? How many examples? I mean, ISKCON में तो ISKCON के बाहर का तुम्हें क्या पता है? कौन सा इतना पता है इसका? So you're getting it. Preaching is the thing. Preaching is the thing. And you don't have to think preaching means "मुझे मुझे शर्म आती है बाहर जाके खड़ा होने का." Then you contribute in preaching in some way or other. Again, if you cannot, start a reading club. How difficult it is. That is so difficult also. I mean, थोड़ा तो आपको अपनी subtle body को change करना पड़ेगा. Text number 29. Because she was always absorbed in the thought of Supreme Power, she was not aware that her hair was sometimes loosened, her garments were disarrayed. My Devahuti, by following the principle instructed by Kapila Devahuti, soon became liberated from material bondage, and she achieved the Supreme Person Godhead as Super Soul without difficulty. Do you agree, if the mood of the community is centered on preaching, that whole community automatically will have higher taste for hearing and chanting? Yes or no? If the mood of the community is based on preaching, that community would be based on the foundation of hearing and chanting. And if the mood of the community is not preaching, I don't know what else could be the mood. Could be fundraising, maybe making life members. Then you will see that neither they themselves will be doing more hearing and chanting, nor they'll be able to inspire others doing hearing and chanting. Yes or no? It is all centered on preaching. It is all centered on preaching. Text number 30. My Devahuti, by following the principles instructed by Kapila, Devahuti soon became liberated from material bondage, and she achieved the Supreme Person Godhead as Super Soul within without difficulty. The palace where Devahuti achieved her perfection, my Devahuti, is understood to be the most sacred spot. It is known all over the three worlds as Siddhapad or Siddhapad. Devahuti, the material elements of body, have melted into the water and are now a flowing river, which is most sacred of all rivers. Anyone who bathes in this river who attains perfection will attain perfection. Therefore, all persons who desire perfection go bathe there. My dear Vidura, the great sage Kapila left his father hermitage with the permission of his mother and went towards the northeast. While he was passing the northern direction, all the celestial denizens known as Charana, Gandharvas, as well as Munis and damsels and heavenly planets prayed and offered him all respect. The ocean offered him oblation in place of residence. Even now, Kapil Muni is staying, that is called as Ganga Sagar, text number 36. My dear son, since you have inquired from me, I have answered. O sinless one, the description of Kapila Dev and his mother and their activities are the purest of all pure discourses. Text number 37. The descriptions. Ya idam manushnoti yo abhidatte kapila munirmatam atma yoga guhyam Bhagavati kritadhi suparnaketa upalabhate Bhagavati padaravindam. The description of the dealings of Kapil Dev and his mother is very confidential, and anyone who hears or reads this narration becomes a devotee of the Supreme Personality Godhead, who is carried by Garuda, and he therefore enters and thereafter enters into the abode of the Supreme Lord to engage in the transcendent loving service of the Lord. Purport. The narration of Kapila Dev and his mother Devahuti is so perfect and transcendental that even if one only hears or reads this description, he achieves the highest perfectional goal of life, who engages in the loving service of the lotus feet of the Lord. There is no doubt that Devahuti, who had the Supreme Lord as a son and who followed the instructions, attained the highest perfection of human life. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purpose of third canto, 33rd chapter, Srimad Bhagavat, entitled Activities of Lord Kapila. End of third canto. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. So just quick highlights, or just quick review or revise the quick highlights of today's discussion. One of the subject matter was about the purpose of Lord's birth. Why does Lord appear? What is the purpose of Lord's birth? To establish the culture of Shravanam, Smaranam, Arhani. To establish the culture of hearing, chanting, and worshipping the Lord. That is the dharma. And who says so? Yamraji. Etavan eva lokasmin pumsam dharma parasmrataha. Like this. Bhakti yoga bhagavati tannama renadibi. So that's the first point. So dharma means to establish the culture of chanting, reading, and hearing. Or hearing, we can say. So therefore, we should have firm faith and conviction. Just by this process of chanting, glorifying the Lord, worshipping the Lord, all and everything which is inauspicious in our life will be driven away. We don't have to do anything else. In fact, of course, to really develop faith in Bhagavatam, we need to start reading Bhagavatam first. Even those who are struggling with Shani Dasha, Rahu Dasha, they can be fixed if they can wholeheartedly take shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam. Because whatever inauspiciousness those dashas have to create, or whatever sufferings you're supposed to receive as part of your karmic reaction, that all can be negated, purified by taking shelter of Bhagavatam. If somehow or other we can make Bhagavatam as our life and soul. And to do so, we have to start from somewhere. We have to start from somewhere. So that was my first little focus on the purpose of Lord's appearance. So Lord appeared. How Dharma is established through the process of hearing and glorifying the Lord. So therefore, as the devotees, all of us, it's our prime responsibility. If you call yourself as a proponent of Dharma, a propagator of Dharma, then how do you facilitate? You have to create opportunity for your family members. You have to create opportunity for friends. You have to create opportunity for anyone and everyone who you knows, to give them an opportunity to hear and read about the Lord. And you have to think back, how am I doing it? And if you want to do it, begin charity at your home. Send Prabhupada books at your home. I was in America, I remember, the moment I got it, it's all by Lord's grace that He gave me that intelligence. The moment I started reading it, the first thing I did it, and just after spending a month or two and after reading Bhagavad Gita, and when I was convinced that this is what I want to do it, I immediately sent Bhagavatam and all except for CC, because I had not touched CC. I was just hardly 2-3 months. I said all Prabhupada books, including Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, to my mother. In those days, BBT only had a shipping service. From Bombay, I had ordered it. And interestingly, my mother started reading it. My mother finished Bhagavad Gita. She finished Bhagavatam now 3-4 times, CC 3-4 times. And she's reading since then, 2008. Because she began to read it, Prabhupada's purpose, she developed taste, and it became very easy for me to convey my path, my journey, and what I'm doing. And then they started attending program. And my program attend करना है तो मामा को फादर को लेके जाना है, घर पे खाना खाना है तो तुम्हें मेरे लिए भी कुछ करना पड़ेगा. तो उस धमकी से चीज शुरू हुई. So my father, although was not much interested, he is pious. There's nothing wrong in that. But your karmi. He said, कौन भक्ति करेगा, ये सब क्या है? So my father had to go to take my mother to the program. अब वो गए हैं तो बैठ जाते थे कभी-कभी. बैठते बैठते उनको भी अच्छा लग गया. He became a devotee. Where it all started. We all have to go back in your life and think, how are we becoming a propagator of Dharma? So many things we forward. So many things we like. We're sitting on social media. You can use that social media and become a propagator of Dharma. Huh? Share things. Why you have to be so hesitant, so shy about sharing about? What will people say? What will people think about it? If you're so shy and worried about it, which means you're yourself having some doubt about it. This is not the highest. This is something, if people will say, what worry about it? They are anyways ignorant. They don't know about it. If you don't tell them, then who will tell them? And all of your working company, you'll have so many people. Why don't you share with them? Send them some message, something like that. Use your WhatsApp status. Use your social media for conveying messages. If not, again, I'm saying, if not, start, people have post-COVID, have developed certain inclination for online events. Start your own forum. 4 or 5 of you come together and read together. And you being a little more mature than them, not only read, you can then explain them. If not, get your parents, get your family members as an audience. I can tell you, one best audience you'll get your bhabis. Your bhabi, your taiji, your mami, sab ladies gang ko banao, padao. That sangha of ladies is allowed for you. Because they are relatives, not other association. That was one subject matter purpose we talked about it. Second thing, what was the other emphasis we talked about? The story is about how Mother Devahuti glorifies Lord Kapila Dev. Kapila Dev blesses Mother Devahuti. If you follow my path, I promise you, you will come back to Godhead. And then after that, Maitreya describes what did Mother Devahuti did. So describes her ashram, her place, and she practiced the instruction given by Kapila Dev, and then she attained, the Param Gati. And before establishing the Param Gati, she attained trance, and she became immaterial to her body. So then I asked the question, how can we attain that stage? Is it possible? Or is it only theoretical to say Krishna Prema, going back home, back to Godhead? Yes, we can also attain that. And the process of attaining that is preaching. The more we engage ourselves in preaching, I'm missing that verse from last 18th chapter when Krishna says, who is most dear to me? The one who speaks this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to others. That is preaching. Krishna himself says so. So what is the means to coming to that situation of trance? Trance for us means becoming immaterial to our likes and dislikes, to our comfort and discomfort. Are you getting it? And it is not possible in any situation except for preaching. When we have gone through all that purification through preaching, because preaching is going to bring a lot of material discomfort, and we've all gone through all that discomfort, and gradually, Tesham Satata Yuktanam, Lord will give us intelligence to rise above this duality. I believe Vivek Bindra was sharing this example. He was saying that in those days, before joining ashram and then later on becoming Vivek Bindra, as you know him now, he had a car and he wanted to drive Maharaj from Radhika Raman temple to Pathasati temple. And the temple president allowed him. So Maharaj sat in his car and, Maharaj just sat. So I believe his car AC was broken or something like that. So Vivek Bindra asked Maharaj, or maybe the car AC was going on, and then he asked Maharaj, Maharaj, should I switch on, increase the speed, or switch it off and all that? So Gopal Krishna Maharaj at that point of time said, hot or cold, I'm totally indifferent to it. It doesn't matter if your car AC functions or your car AC does not function. Now, this is immaterial. Now, this is not something we can aspire to it, but how do you come to that situation like that? Preaching by putting ourselves through that purification that comes from preaching endeavors. Aham mameti, everything will get purified. You'll preach and you'll think, this is my property, my student. This is very interesting. Many preachers say very confidently, my student. And the student is thinking, kaun student? I have already changed my party. Interestingly, Bhakti Siddhanta never called his disciples. So, anyways, we all going to go through this purification of aham mameti. Because I and mine becomes very strong. This is mine. This is mine. Who is yours? What is yours? Nothing is yours. When that fellow could not be of Krishna, how that fellow will become yours? That fellow gave Krishna's association, and you, preacher, thinking that he will remain loyal to you. Then, if he remains loyal to you, then you have to be better than Krishna. Then you are interestingly becoming competitor to Krishna. As a preacher, your responsibility only to create faith in him for Krishna. Faith in Guru Gauranga, not faith in you, that you remain loyal to me. That's not going to happen. And when Krishna says you're becoming like Indra, you're becoming too proud, you want everyone to worship you, and then Krishna will humble you. How will humble you? Krishna will make sure your people leave you. It's a written fact noted down. The same Indra Lila will happen in your manifest in our life. And we, the same preacher, would have spoken many times Indra Lila. How Indra was humbled. And the same preacher would not have understood. I am becoming Indra here when I'm becoming. Now, what happened in Indra Lila with Krishna? Krishna said to, Brajvasi, don't worship Indra. And now, if one counselor says, Prabhuji, thank you so much, but enough is enough now. I need to move. Or, nahi jam raha apna. Or maybe, you're too attached, or whatever it is. You're not growing yourself because of which I'm not growing, whatever it is. I have all the respect to you. But, can I have somebody else in my life? Something like that situation arises. What do you think? How many preachers will become like Indra? Email will go immediately to the authority. My counselee has been captured by another preacher. This is Indra mentality. So, we all going to go through with this. How do we get purified? Aham mameti. So, it's not that there is some big thing. Even Krishna forgave Indra. So, there's nothing that a preacher does something, there is some serious fault. That's okay. But I'm saying through preaching mission, we all get purified of these internal things. If you don't do it, how do we get purified? Aham mameti. And gradually, after when we go through this purification, and then we say, all right, You want to serve? Okay. If you don't want to serve, that's also okay. You decide what you want. So like that it works out. All right. So that was the second part of it. How we can attain to that stage of trance through preaching. And with that, we conclude here. Thank you all for your kind attention. Any questions or comments? Sorry, it got a little extended. Yes, Ashok, you have something to say?
Canto 332 chapter 43 verse. Mention anyone who once meditated upon me with faith and attention will hear and chant about me, surely go back to Godhead. So once is mentioned. This once means once day or one moment or one lifetime.
Third canto, 32 chapter, and the last verse. Oh, Phalasruti. 32, Phalasruti. Anyone who once meditated upon me with faith and affection, who hears and chants about me. With what? With faith, na? Once के संग parameter क्या है?
Yeah, once means like one life.
What is along with once? With faith and affection. So that's it. When you have that faith and affection, then it will happen. And if it is not happening, faith and affection is not there. We are thinking we have developed faith and affection. All right? So question should be asked not when. Question should be asked when will I and how will I develop faith and affection. When that happens, then once condition becomes active. The condition for once is faith and affection, which means beyond what you call as anarthas, is beyond anartha stage. Then only nishtha, that's shraddha, that is, yes.
Like you mentioned that in devotion, that emotions are the transcendental. Like it's not a.
I'll repeat that question, no problem. Go ahead.
So sometimes we are saying like.
Talking on emotions, yes.
Yeah, sometimes we are saying like some of that people are suffering and we are seeing them, and some like because of some emotions, like we are saying people are suffering. So we are like impacted like because of that, and it is impacting our sadhana as well.
How's other suffering is impacting your sadhana? Other suffering should enhance your sadhana.
Just we are seeing like they like while chanting it is coming again and again like they are.
So then you're materially attached and something going wrong. Seeing other suffering should enhance your bhakti, because as you enhance your bhakti, to that degree you can do good for them. Now seeing the suffering is causing you distraction, then you should not see only. You should not see about Israel-Palestine Yuddha. Because the suffering of Palestine and Israel is affecting you, then we are still too much politically affected. So there's no point of that. So suffering of others, when we are in the situation when we can actually see the suffering. The actual suffering is also the suffering of the soul, being disconnected from the Lord. So if we have that understanding and if that's the vision, then there's no question of getting distracted in one's bhakti. Because our bhakti will become very strong. Alright?
The question is how do we differentiate between transcendental emotion and
How do we differentiate between transcendental emotion and mundane emotions? Now, at our stage of sadhana bhakti, Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, and particularly when we are, not still on the stage of nishtha, to have transcendental emotions, you can call it as special mercy of the Lord. Once in a while, we may have glimpse of it. But right now, we are driven by three modes of material nature. We are not even firmly situated in mode of goodness. So, by default, it's very easy to, it will be very easy for us to consider all my emotions are mundane only. There is no question of differentiating. Differentiation will happen later on, when we are at least firmly situated in goodness and we are able to cross or transcend beyond the anartha nivritti stage. Then the transcendental emotion was, because that's all covered by the modes of material nature. So, where is the question of transcendence? Now, somebody may say, Prabhuji, whenever I see the deities, I cry. Isn't that transcendental emotion? Well, I don't know. It could be. But that's just a glimpse. Because after that, it doesn't happen to you. And if it was a transcendental emotion, then you should not go back and watch a movie after that. That means you are firmly fixed like that. So, and transcendental emotions cannot be taken so cheaply also, na? Well, which means one has to be purified to attain that state like that. So I've already spoken about the subject matter of shallow emotions. in one of the forums with all of you only. Generally, these sentiments, we're driven by shallow emotions. And the shallow emotions are nothing but the function of three modes of matter nature. Our joy, our grief, these are all shallow emotions. Why? Because those emotions have no impact on our consciousness. During Kirtan, we may cry, we may have tears. Those tears are not because a love for Lord is evoking or invoked in your heart. There could be some glimpses of it, but there are some, upheld emotions within your subconsciousness which are now manifesting like that. Because if they were genuine emotions, what was the point of the point prior to genuine emotion? If there were genuine emotions, then your life will act like that. We will not have flip-flop. Flip-flop means one time in Krishna consciousness, other time in material consciousness. It will not happen. How many times if you have gone to temples you have seen not devotees, maybe some of the devotees, not ISKCON but others, they are looking at the deities and crying. Now at that time you may remember Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shikshashrikam. Yugaitam nimeshena chakshusha pavashaitam shunyaitam jagat virena govinda shunyaitam jagat sarvam govinda virena mein. आप बोलोगे क्या बात है गोविंदा विरहना में but that could be some other nayanam galata shudha vadanam gadgadha vidha that is something else. मेरे बेटे की शादी नहीं हो रही. You don't know what's the reason behind it. Okay, so thank you all for joining. I will pause here. Sorry it got extended. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, are we starting the fourth canto?
Mother will give you the news before next Friday.